Deputy Owen Murphy. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Minister, I remember when I first started off in politics only a few years ago, I spoke to a publisher in the UK that I know, and I asked him about what he expected from politics and from politicians, what he wanted from them. And he said that what he wanted was for the government to get out of his way. And what he was talking about was about making it easier for businesses to set up, to start a business, to employ people, to make it cheaper to employ people, so that he could go about creating jobs, creating wealth, and that would naturally then spread around the economy and bring the stability that the Deputy Doyle was talking about that we would have in our society and in our lives. And I found that very interesting. And we talked about this as a party actually before the general election about what the role of government was when it came to job creation, and how it wasn't the role of government to directly create jobs, but to create the environment whereby jobs could be created, as Deputy Martin Hayden referred to. I think that's a very important point. It's not the role of the government to directly create jobs, and nor is it the role of the government to lend money, in my opinion. But these are exceptional times, of course, and the government is doing at the moment a whole host of things that it shouldn't normally have to do. And while the circumstances aren't welcome, the solutions from the Minister very much are. And that's why this bill is so very welcome and so important. This fund will do some good, and it's important that we move quickly with the legislation and get the fund up and running. One thing about the fund I would say is that it's incredibly important that we as TDs cannot be lobbied on the fund. Some people will take the view that because the agency has been set up, that there will be some influence that will be on the part of TDs, that if they do not get the funding that they are looking for, that we will be able to interfere. I think it's incredibly important that any potential linkage there be absolutely broken, and that it be made clear that we will have no role in this, as we should have no role in this, because we would not want political interference in what could be a very good enterprise scheme. Talking about, though, small businesses, startup businesses, this fund is for companies looking to create, jobs in companies less than 10 people. I met yesterday, Minister, with Sean O'Sullivan from Open Ireland. We were talking about a technology visa, and I know you're aware of this. We were talking in a general scheme of trying to make Dublin and Ireland the Silicon Valley of Europe. This is something that I've been interested in since my first days in politics. And we know we have underemployment in the IT sector. We know that the figures we have are about 2,200, but if you talk to anyone actually working in the sector, they're quite a bit higher. The multinationals are starved of talent, but also the new startup businesses setting up in Dublin by Irish people can't get talent as well. There's huge competition for the developers, for the engineers that we have, and as a result, they're very expensive to employ. So we find that small startup businesses in the tech sector are finding it very difficult to get the right talent. We have a startup entrepreneur visa scheme that we've set up and an investor visa scheme, and they're both very good measures, and we really want to see them getting off the ground. But it's not just enough to say to an entrepreneur, come here and start your business. That person needs to be able to bring people with them from their home country or from other countries that could then work in that business. And that's why the technology visa that they're proposing is so important. A specific visa for people working in the technology sector with certain criteria to allow them to come in to work in these new Irish companies or to fill the vacancies in the indigenous companies. 5,000 technology visas would create 20,000 jobs, because from the studies that they have done, they see that for every one job created in the ICT sector, a further 4 jobs are created. And that's incredibly significant, because people often, when they talk about the tech sector and tech jobs, say, oh, look, it's very specific and it's only a certain category of people. But it's the knock-on jobs that are created from those jobs being here. The Taoiseach has talked repeatedly about his vision for Ireland, in that by 2016, I think, we'll be the best small country in the world in which to do business.
Just 1 minute remaining, Dan.
Thank you, Asking Kira. Those of us who are interested in technology and in the high-tech sector, as you are, Minister, are talking about making Ireland by 2015, 2016, the Silicon Valley of Europe, the best place in the world in which to start a tech business. I think it's a very important goal, and it's one that we should aspire to, and that's why the technology visa is so important. I know it's not particular to this bill itself, but because we are talking about ways in which the government can help create that environment to help businesses set up and get going and employ people, that's why I think it is relevant to the debate today. So I would urge you, Minister, I know you have been briefed on the technology visa, but any conversation or any discussions that you might be able to have with the Minister for Justice on this front to see that we could possibly move to such a visa scheme, I think would be incredibly welcome, and a good part of the many measures that you are bringing in these exceptional circumstances to help and tackle the unemployment crisis, which is so important for all of us. Thank you.